the record button. Okay, want to make sure I record these for those people that can't be here. Okay, so we're back. So here's the first script. If I list my home with you and buy my next home with you, will you cut your commission? Has anybody here been asked that question? Have you been put into place? Some of you are new. Some of you are still looking for your first transaction. But have any of you been asked this question? I'm curious. No one? If go ahead, Jerry. Yeah, unmute yourself.
Yeah, I have a new tablet myself, so I'm still trying to figure out where everything's at. Yeah, it's a standard question among people. You know, they just want to know, you know, hey, I'm giving you a 2-for-1. What are you going to do for me?
Yeah. And what do you usually do, Jerry?
Well, you know, I say we can discuss it. It may not always be the option or whatever like that, but we can discuss it because, you know, you do put forth a lot of effort into selling and buying on both sides and everything like that, improve your worth. But I do say, you know, it's something that we could discuss. But, you know, and I'm kind of stuck at that point. But I've always had one of the things to where, yeah, I mean, I've discounted off, you know, on the sell or the buy on the opposite side. Because I mean, yeah, I am getting a 2-for-1. So I give a little back.
Okay. So I have too. The truth is I have too, especially with people that I've done multiple transactions with. And sometimes friends, family, sometimes people that I feel that I need to do it. Here's something for you to just think about. Okay. And that's what this is all about. And here's how the script reads. You know, I can appreciate that you want me to reduce my fee, and I want to be upfront with you and say, no, I will not cut my commission. And for one very simple reason. As a professional, my time has a certain value, and I only work with people like yourself that realize that value of my service. And before you say anything, think about this. If an agent is willing to cut his or her commission just like that, how well do you think they will hold up when it comes to negotiating the best possible price for your home? I want to demonstrate to you upfront how tough I am going to be for you. Therefore, cutting my commission is simply not an option. Does that make sense? Now, remember, we're looking at scripts, my suggestion always has been to dissect them so they work for you. But perhaps, Jerry, perhaps everyone, something like this may fit in when you don't know what to say. Because I've been in that situation too, Jerry, and everybody. You know, I just give up or feel like I just need to give up. One piece that I've taken from this script myself is the third paragraph. If an agent is willing to cut his or her commission just like that, how well do you think they will hold up when it comes to negotiating the best possible price for your home? And I felt there's a lot of strength in that, because attached to my, my marketing plan and everything that I promote myself with, the words that I am a negotiating expert are in everything that I put out to clients, whether I am or not. I want them to know that I have thought about it, I've studied it, I've considered it, and I've done it. And I will do that for them. So I think the third paragraph of this, maybe not the whole piece, but at least the third paragraph really makes a lot of sense. And I think it's something that people can understand quickly. And, I just did a transaction here in Texas, closed last week, dealing with an agent, a listing agent, who, by the way, was perfectly awful, just a perfectly awful agent. And so there was a chimney problem with this home. We did the inspection. there was a problem with the chimney. We had an expert come. The expert said, yeah, it's probably going to cost about $400 to $600 to fix it. And so the buyer that I was working with said, we want that taken care of. So I called the agent and I said, we've got an issue. Would you like me to send you the inspection? Of course, nobody wants to get the inspection if they have anything up here. You don't want to know all the problems that you now need to disclose. But I said, we have some issues, and one of them is the chimney. And I said, I'm not sure how much it's going to cost to fix this thing, but my buyers haven't even seen the home. They made the offer without even seeing it, and it's been accepted, and we're going to be closing in a few days. But they're really concerned about this chimney, especially since they can't see it. And we've got, an estimate for the repair. And who knows if the estimate is right, because the estimate was based on a picture. I said, I'm going to need your help to get my buyers to stick with this thing, or they're going to disappear. They're going to float. They're going to move. They're going to wait till they find the right home. And he said to me, Jim, you guys offered $5,000 over list that was accepted. How about that we just remove the $5,000 and go back to the original listing price? So this agent dropped $5,000. I don't know how he convinced his sellers that that was a smart thing to do, but he dropped $5,000 just like that. Now, here's something I want you all to know. Last week, I said something to you about the value of stories, the importance of stories in your business. And I want you all to think about the story I just told you. And you don't have, it's not your story, but that doesn't mean you can't borrow my story and use it in your arsenal, use it in your scripts, and say, I appreciate that you want me to reduce my fee. Let me tell you a story. And I want you to think, all of you, to think about telling my story, saying, I want to give you an example of how I will fight for you. Let me tell you a story about agents that don't fight for their clients. I would tell the story. I will tell this story. And I would say, that will never happen when you work for me. I will not give up, and I will fight for you. So with this script, take the third paragraph, look at it, make it yours, then connect it with a story. Maybe all of you have a story. Maybe some of you have heard a story. Make the story yours. If you want to connect it in some kind of way, you might say, another agent in our office that I work very closely with, or in the training we do in our office where we work diligently on negotiation techniques. Here's something I learned last week from an agent in our office. And because we all work very hard, because we know how important negotiation is, especially in these times when there are multiple offers on properties, you really need an expert negotiator, and I can bring that to the table. So do you think that I am the right agent for you at the price that I offer? Think about the script and think about how you might be able to use it. Any thoughts, Scott? Let me ask you, because you've done a number of transactions, and I know you've been asked this before, Scott, and you might have, I'm not saying given up, okay? I've given up, in my past. I've given in to this whole thing of discounting. Scott, what is this something that might help you with your business in the future?
Yeah, I think it definitely will. Last week when we talked, I had gone on an appointment out meeting with some sellers, and they're still working on finishing building their house, Yeah. And that was one of the things that he raised was, well, I think you guys are all, you're overpaid,
Wow.
for what you do. And I said, oh, I understand that, and a lot of people think that sometimes or may say that, but I actually had the opportunity to, do you remember the dollar bill trick with the commissions that we did in the office? I said, let me show you something.
Can you talk about it?
Yeah, I said, let me show you something. And I actually happened to prepare for that on my way to the meeting. And so I pulled out $3 bills. I said, okay, so this represents 2.5%, which is, my half. And I laid down all three. I said, this dollar goes to my broker. This dollar goes to Uncle Sam. This last dollar goes to me. And then I pretended to tear off top of that. I said, and then this part goes to marketing your home. This part goes to photography, and I said, so this is what I'm left with.
Mhm.
And his wife jumped right in. She says, oh my God, I've never seen that before. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, I get it. And we moved right on after that.
Yeah.
But that was the first opportunity I had to actually use that. So it was,
Very cool, Scott. Yep, I remember teaching that and doing that. I know Jack Cornell, who was in our office, used a version of that with a pencil, but we don't need to talk about. I think that's an excellent one that people can use, even if you made, some had some play money, whatever it might be. Make a copy of a dollar bill, and so you can actually tear it, so it still has the visual, but you can tear it in front of them so they have it. Here's why people want to dive into our commission, and you've just explained it, Scott. They don't understand how we get paid. And I believe it's our duty to fight for our commission, and not to fight so much that it's a knockdown, drag out deal, but to be able to explain it to them so they understand it, because they just think we're getting it all and we're getting it rich, and we're getting rich from it. So that's an excellent example. Anybody else have any thoughts about this particular number one of this script and how you might use it, how you might dissect it?
Hey, Jim.
Yes.
Scott, I think that's excellent. I'll never forget it. I took notes because just from a totally different industry that I was in forever and understood backward and forward, we were always in danger of having what we did become a commodity. And so there was no differentiation between us and the other guys. You provide this, other people provide that. So what separates you? And if you're not working on, which is what we're talking about, if you're not working on what separates you from the next agents, then they start wondering about, hey, you're overpaid. Mm-hmm. So I can see it. This is perfect. And Scott, I don't have money that I carry around like that, but I have to put $3 in my pocket every day.
I just happened to get lucky. I had the $3 as change. I broke a 20 earlier that day for coffee, and I happened to have it. So yeah. I said, I'm going to put this right in my front pocket.
That's excellent.
Yeah. Thank you, Scott. Thank you for adding value to this.
One thing, Jim, I might add to that.
Yes, Bob.
They say if you want to increase a salesperson's confidence, give them words to say. That's what you're doing here. You're actually giving words to say. They say this because in truth, this whole objection thing is kind of like a tennis match. They smack that ball over the net into your court. 95% of the time, the agent does not even return it. 95% of the time, the agent doesn't even return it. I have found that if I just return that ball, 50% of the time they give up.
Yeah.
What? I mean, if I just answer it and say, Mike Ferry, Tom's dad, used to say, hey, will you cut your commission? He says, no. Any other questions? Mm-hmm. I mean, I've actually used that. No. Any other questions? And all of a sudden the tennis match is over. They give up. Yeah. I think it's having the strength to stay in the match, to stay in the game. Just don't give up. We have so many weak realtors today that, this used to be a 6% agreed to commission. Now it's 5 and going to 4. And you guys are seeing people advertise on TV, 1, 2, 3%. We're going to lose this industry's value if we don't fight for it. So just see it as a little tennis match. Never let the opponent hit the ball and you just catch it. game over. Whack it back.
Hmm.
And it'll just try it once. You don't usually have to do it twice, just once.
Yeah. Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you, Bob. We're all so scared that if we say no, that, they're going to say, pack your bags and leave. And you know what? That can happen. I've got to tell you, it's only happened, honest to goodness, it's only happened to me once. And it was somebody that said, well, Jim, if you won't cut your commission to 4%, I'm going to hire so-and-so. Don't remember who he was going to hire. And somebody I'd never heard of, a company that I never heard of. And I said, who is that? And he said, well, so-and-so. It's a guy that I know from the Redmond Baseball League. Scott knows about Redmond, but about the base, and he thinks he can do it for less. And I said, well, this is what I've done. I've laid out what I'm going to do for what I'm asking you to pay me. So I understand. I'm not going to do it for less than 6%. I can't. But I've got another thing that I'll just say in just a second. But I got to write this down or I'll forget. I said, you need to hire the other guy. About 4 months later, maybe 6 months later, I saw him at a basketball game that my son was playing at and his son was playing at. And I walked up to the bleachers and sat next to them. There's no hard feelings, right? I sat next to him and his name was Scott, by the way. And I said, Scott, how you doing? I said, hey, did you get your home sold? And he said, well, actually, we're in foreclosure. I said, why would you be in foreclosure? He said, well, the guy we hired just couldn't find a buyer for our house. And that was enough for me to know. And I didn't put it back in his face. I said, I'm so sorry. I wish I would have had the opportunity to help you stay out of foreclosure on this home. So I, wish you the best of luck, and went on. But those are the things that can happen and that I've seen. I just want to give you one Tom Ferry script that we'll talk about, probably because we're doing the Tom Ferry class. Some of you aren't in the Tom Ferry class with me. So I just want you to think of one other thing. When they talk about cutting commission, Tom Ferry's approach is that when he talks to a seller about commission that might come before this, is that my fee is 3%. And what you decide to pay the buyer's agent is entirely up to you. But I always put my commission first. Then I'll fight for my commission. I'll fight for the 3% that I get. But that's an approach that's worked for me really well. That how much is your commission? Well, my commission's 3%. And then what we decide to pay the buyer's agent is entirely up to you. I can give you some real strong suggestions on how that might impact the sale of your property, but that's my commission. I found that works really well. Okay.
And don't forget the old medical deal. Somebody says, let's say you get a diagnosis that you need a new heart valve. Are you going to interview 5 surgeons and find the cheapest one?
Exactly. Yeah, probably not. Probably not. Okay, let's.
I had just one small suggestion. Sorry, I didn't want to.
Yeah, no, please. Thank you. Thank you.
The 7 levels of communication. I don't know. It's a very famous book, so I'm sure most, if not all of you have read it. If not, I just wanted to suggest it. It's an awesome book about negotiation and just less is more when it comes to communication, and a little bit to kind of piggyback off of what somebody said earlier, that sometimes letting them be the ones to kind of not dig a hole, but really talk themselves into the very thing that they're trying to talk you out of. So this book is just, it's awesome for people that struggle with what to say, when to say, and how much to say. So I thought I'd just suggest that it kind of helps you better understand humans, but at the same time, kind of hone your skills when it comes to talking to people and understanding like different types of people.
What is the book again?
It's called The 7 Levels of Communication by Michael J. Mayer. And it's an awesome book. I try to read a book a month about real estate or just about self-growth. It just expands your mind exponentially when it comes to like understanding people, because what we do is tough. But I'm going to leave it in the chat box I'll leave the name. You can get it on Amazon, Audible.
Mhm.
I'm old school. I like to have it in my hand.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it takes me a month, sometimes it takes me more, but at least I have like a copy of it. Where Audible, I'll forget about it. I do like to be read to, but I'll forget about it. I won't touch it. It won't get done. So,
Good.
but yeah, no, I'll leave it in the chat box.
Okay,
Good. Thank you.
thank you so
Jimbo.
much.
Jimbo, I gotta jump off on another call here at the half hour, so it'd be great to see all of you.
Thank you, Bob, for
Thanks,
being
Bob.
with us.
Good, very good work here. Good work.
Okay, thank you for being here. Have a great day. Okay, let's move on. I want to move to number 3. And as I said, we're not going to have time for 38 today. We'll come back to this script, okay? You have it in your possession, but let's look at number 3. And then I want to go totally off script for just a second. But number 3 is, I have seen this marketing plan. What makes you different and why should I list with you? I've seen this marketing plan. Some people are going to interview several or more agents. Know that at some companies, even our own, EXIT Corporate, for instance, has a listing presentation built into our site. So there's a buyer's presentation and a listing presentation built into our site that you can download and you can use. What if they're interviewing 2 exit agents in your city? And in some places that, you know, is very possible, less in smaller communities like Bend, but maybe even here, maybe unknowingly, 2 agents from EXIT. But I can promise you that not only EXIT Corporate provides you with templates that you can use, so do the other brands. And I know that Keller Williams, excuse me, has a presentation. I've seen it. And it's the template that many of their agents use just because they don't have to work at building out anything. So with this one, I've seen the marketing plan, or I've seen marketing plans. What makes you different and why should I list with you? Let's just, we'll read this and then I just want to have you write down a few things. You know what? You're right. There are only a certain number of things an agent can do to get a home sold. And I think the final decision is not based on what I do differently. I think the real issue is how you feel about the agent representing you. So tell me, what qualities are you looking for in an agent? Okay, that's one script. That's one way to do it. I'm not sure that I buy into this script. But maybe you might. Here's something that I want to go off script, so to speak, with you. And I'm asking you to get a pencil and paper in front of you, please. And I thought, you know, I'm going to post this and I'm going to bring it up on screen. But what I've learned, at least for me, and I could be wrong, that listening and then writing down what you hear and then having it so you can see it, 3 ways to grab something, I think might help you. So here's what I want you to think about. Before we're talking about the marketing plan or this specific one, I want you to think about your marketing plan. Maybe some of you have planned it and you actually have a written, well thought out marketing plan. Some of you don't, but here's 7 things that I think are really important to have in your marketing plan. And what's so important about this? So number 1, I think you need to put in your marketing plan, number 1, why should they trust you? We know that trust is the number 1 attraction for people to a real estate agent. It's because of trust. And trust is going to weigh more on people than cutting commissions and other things. Why should I trust you is one question they want to know. And you need to answer it for them. You need to put it in front of you. And I would say to them, trust is a big factor in the real estate industry. And I want you to know you can trust me to be the best negotiator, to look out for your best interests, to be a fiduciary for you, to make sure that I will take you from the beginning all the way to the end with the least amount of problems and issues. So write down, why should I trust you? Why should they trust you? Number two, what do you have that will solve their problem? What do you have that will solve their problem? That is huge, because if you don't have those things that a buyer or seller need that solves the problems, you're going to have a more difficult time getting that person to work with you, making you attractive to them. What do you have that will solve the problem? You want to identify the problem. You want to find a way to be able to solve the problem. Number three, how will my solution work for you? Okay, so you might say, one of the things I do when I list a property is I perform what's called in the industry as a mega open house. Some of you have heard that recently. And here's what a mega open house looks like. This is how I put it together. Here's what I do. And here's why more people will come to your home than with a traditional real estate agent that doesn't have a mega open house process. Okay, so what solution do you offer? Jerry, Brittany, everyone here, what solution do you offer to their problem? Number four, they want to know that you understand their problem. They want to understand, or they want to know, they want to know that you understand their problem. So they might say, Scott, I need to be relocated to Nashville by next month. And I just don't know what to do. You need to let them know you understand their problem, either by, affirming that you understand it and that you've solved it for other people before. Remember stories. You're going to find stories in our industry. You can find them everywhere on how realtors have found solutions to people's problems. Use those stories, make them your stories, really embrace stories. Number five, how can you assure me that your solution will work? Okay, so we're all great, we're number one, we're the best, whatever it might be, whatever the tagline you adopt is. I hope it's none of those. But if you do, how can you assure them that your solution will work? Well, I can, because I've done it. For me, I've done it in our office in Bend more than 2,000 times in 15 years. Okay. So I can assure them we have done it before and we can do it again. Your problem is not one I haven't seen before. Number six, the cost. So can you justify the cost? And that was about what we looked at when we had number one, when we looked at number one on our list today. If I list my home and buy my next home, will you cut your commission? Okay. Can you explain and justify your commission? I could, because I could show them I am going to do this. I could go down the line, and I knew that I had to show them, I had to demonstrate to them that I had the tools. It was, and when I did that, it was impossible for people to say, yeah, but will you cut your commission to what Bob Jones will do? And all you need to do is say, well, does Bob Jones offer all of these tools in order to get your home sold in the fastest amount of time and for the highest dollar amount? Do you feel he has all these tools? The answer is going to be no, unless you've got crappy tools, unless your tools suck. So you've got to be able to explain and justify your cost. Okay. And that's what connects to number one. Then they'll want to know number 7, how do I get started? And you don't want to wait for them to ask you necessarily, well, how do we get started? You want to make sure that they know you want to get started, and you need to know the process for getting started. And, the way that I explain the process that I'll show in an upcoming class that we do, I had a calendar. Scott knows this because he's worked with me, and Scott is here from Bend. I had a calendar. It was a 30-day calendar. And the calendar was blank before I went into the appointment. But on the calendar for each day of the month, and with the blank calendar, you could start at whatever day. If it's the 15th, the first day that you're sitting in front of them is the 15th, and then you can do 30 days past that. So you don't have to get caught up on a January 1st to January 3rd, February 1st to January. So have a blank calendar and then fill it in. And on that calendar, show what you're going to do every single day for the first 30 days. Now you got to think about this. Get the blank calendar and write what you're going to do. And we'll talk more about this in the class, the first 30 days, because number 1, that's going to justify your cost. They're going to see that you're working. You know what most sellers, especially, what they imagine, that you put their house on the MLS, you stick a sign in the yard, and then you collect $15,000 for selling their home. They don't know about commission splits and company splits and all that stuff. That's what they assume. You need to show them that each day of the month that you're doing something. Day 1 might have the appointment or the seller consultation. Day number 2 might be photographs. It's usually day like number 3 or 4, but every day you put something down, including how you're going to market their home. If you're going to do newspaper ads, put down when it's going to be in the newspaper, and they will look. They will look. I'm not saying you need to do newspaper, but if that's part of what you offer in your plan, put it down on the day that it's going to be in the newspapers. And trust me, they're going to look, and it better be in the newspaper. You want them to know when you're going to put it on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and all other media. You want them to know what days. You don't have to clump them all in one. It could be on Wednesday, I'm going to put yours in LinkedIn. On Thursday, I'm going to do it on Facebook. You might do Facebook ads. So think about your 30-day calendar and what you're going to do for the next 30 days. It's a good exercise for you to do today. Even though you're not doing a listing presentation, do it. Just get a blank calendar, go to Google, look for blank calendar, print off a page, 30 days, do the calendar, and write down the things that you might do each day of the month to show them, wow, he's got a plan. He is actually going to be doing something every day. I'm just going to ask you, do you think anybody has that procedure that they use in their listing presentations? Do you? No one has this. I can promise you, other than Scott and Ben that has worked with me, and maybe even Scott doesn't do it, but I'm telling you, do it today. And so I want to hear from you. What kind of things do you think you could put on the calendar? And I know we're away from scripts, but I think this is really important. And I think it really ties into number 1. I really think it's hugely important for number 1, will you cut your commission? So what kind of things do you think you could put on the calendar? Does anything come to mind? I've given you a couple examples. What could you put on day number 6? Day number 12? Day number...
Open houses.
Okay. Now,
like a neighborhood open house, or like neighborhood nightcap kind of a thing.
Okay.
Our MLS gives us the ability, Jim, to search for anybody that has a search set up that your home shows up on.
Like a reverse prospect.
So reverse prospect, and you get the names of the agents, and you can reach out to them directly make sure that they haven't missed your home.
Okay, so that's a great one. And that doesn't have to be in one day. That could be every Thursday. You're going to reverse prospect, right? Okay, so now you've got 4 Thursdays taken care of, and you're able to explain it. How many agents do you think in a listing presentation explain or have it in the things that they do? Scott knows I have the 35 marketing steps that I do with every listing. Okay, so it's right in front of them. 35 things that I'm going to do. So there's 4 Thursdays. That's a great one. What else?
I can do a video walk through the house, presenting your new listing.
Great.
Facebook, post, Instagram, whatever.
That's fabulous. And do you think people love seeing a video about their house? I mean, people, they get off on that. That is the deal. You know, the reason so many people love newspaper is because there's a feeling, not so much now as there, has been in the past, of opening the newspaper to the real estate section and seeing their home. There's something that does something to the chemicals in the body when you see your own home. And I can tell you, for real estate agents, in my opinion, that spend lots of money on newspaper ads, I think they get off on the same dopamine fix when they see their picture in the newspaper in an ad. Honest to God, I think it's a whole deal. Unfortunately, that dopamine fix goes away very quickly when you get the bill to pay for the newspaper ad, right? So what other things? That's a great one. So on February 10th, I'm going to do a live video, and I'm going to be sending it out to my database of all my past current clients. And I would like you to take that video and send it out to all the people that you know, because you're part of this whole team to get your home sold. So I'm going to put on the 10th, I'm going to put a video up on Facebook or YouTube, wherever. On day 11, you notice I have a little note here, and this note's for you. On the 11th of February, you're going to send this video out to everybody that you know. Is that fair enough? We're a team. We're going to work to get your home sold. Does that make sense? Yep.
Jim, you just said something right there, team, that it's not just you, right? Fill in the blank agent name, right? Pascal will say it's not just Pascal working on your property or on marketing your home. I got a team of professionals, and then, whatever comes out of your mouth from that point. But what you're saying is that you have a team of professionals that are working together to get your house marketed, et cetera, et cetera. But I wanted to add one thing, if I may. In my experience, I have used this 30-day calendar. It's very powerful, because if you set up your value on the front end of your conversation with the prospective client for listing a home, for example, and you have your listing presentation, or in your listing presentation, you're giving all this value, so much value that they can't take it anymore, but to say, okay, I got it. This is good. I'm ready to go. They won't even ask to break the commission or to negotiate your commission, because you've already set up your value. So you can kind of avoid that question if you present your value and your worth up front. Yep. And if they come back and still say, well, you cut your commission, you say, well, with all this value that I just presented, is that not enough to justify my commission? Mm-hmm. In so many words, I mean. Yeah,
exactly. And those words are what we're working on every week, right? We're trying to find the words. Thank you, Paul, for joining us. Paul is on. Paul, do you have any thoughts about using a 30-day calendars?
It's a phenomenal tool. One thing I would add, I don't know if it's already been suggested, but I always put in there during those 30 days, every Friday, which will be 4 times, you will get a phone call from me with an update on what's going on with your listing. And we'll talk about activity or no activity. We'll talk about pricing. We'll talk about the market. And you won't have to wonder, what am I doing? You, besides my calendar, you'll have me on the phone every Friday. If you're too busy, that's okay, but I will call. And that's one of the biggest insecurities from sellers too, is that once the sign's in the yard, they never hear from you. So
Yeah.
it goes a long way. It's a nice compliment to this.
Yep. Thank you, Paul. And it's one of the biggest sins of realtors is communication. And so I would just add to what Paul said. Thank you, Paul. That's excellent. I wouldn't have mentioned that, but it's huge. I know what I do, but on Friday, I would say, and you notice that I have the next 4 Fridays marked for a call to you, because communication is so important. I want to make sure that I communicate in a way that a lot of realtors don't. The question I have here today is, how do you want to be contacted? Text, email, or phone call? Because it's entirely up to you. And I will shape the communication the way you want it, not the way I want it. Does that sound good? So give them the 3. Give them 3 ways that you communicate. Some people don't want to talk. This deal that I just closed in Melissa, these people from Maryland, I talked to them starting in November about purchasing a home. I talked to them once. They did everything by text. It drove me freaking crazy. Everything was by text. They did not want to talk to me, even, buying a $529,000 home that they'd never seen. They didn't want to talk. So you've got to ask people, how do you want to communicate? I can promise you that I will be in touch with you every single Friday. Another thing, before I forget, I would mark on the 30th day a follow-up meeting with them. I would ask and schedule the follow-up meeting before you leave the house. Schedule it, get it on the calendar, get them to say yes. 10 o'clock on Friday, the 28th works perfectly for us. And you schedule the time to either do it by Zoom or do it in person, however it is, because that will set up a time, not necessarily in our marketplace now, but we're in a very unique place right now with prices and availability of homes. But the 30-day mark gives you the opportunity to talk to them about any price reductions, about comments from other realtors, to really talk to them about issues that need to be addressed. And for you to check in, sometimes you won't want to hear it, but if you do everything the way you should, you're going to ask them. So how do you feel? We haven't gotten the offer that works for you yet. I'm not going to stop working for you. How do you feel at this point? And then if there needs to be price adjustments or whatever, you can put that on the calendar right away. What other calendar things can you think of that would be good to put on? How about walking the neighborhood? So on the 3rd day, I'm going to take a picture of your home. I'm going to prepare a flyer, and I'm going to walk to 200 homes directly around your home, because I want to make sure everyone in your neighborhood knows that your home is available. And I'm also going to invite them on that same flyer to the open house that I'm doing on the 12th. So I'm going to do a special open house just for the neighborhood, for example. Okay, so that could be one. Anyone else have any other thoughts on what can go on the calendar?
You can also do other social media postings and a social media check, because oftentimes what will show up on Zillow or other things may be incorrect. They pull up old photographs. I've seen misinformation. And I can think of a number of times my clients have called me to tell me they saw a mistake, and I had never thought to do that myself, which might not be a bad idea.
I've never thought of that, Paul, until after the fact, right? Until after someone called me and was angry because they think I'm responsible, for whatever someone else puts on, in social media or on the internet. And I am a bit. We're responsible to correct those things. One more thing before we call it a day and let everyone go about their day. What other thoughts might you have about the 7 things that I talked about? Are those things that do you think honestly might help you if you look at those today or tomorrow, but if you tear off the piece of paper like I have, and you pin it up and you really think about this, some of us don't even think about this stuff, but why should anybody trust you? If I asked you that question, why should anybody trust you? You're new, you haven't sold a home, you haven't listed a home, maybe you've sold a bunch, but why should anybody trust you? You really need to think about these things. It's hugely important, and it really connects with scripts, because you've got to have those basic things figured out. Any last comments from anybody?
Jim, just that accountability is so critical, and everything you've said has led to this, and this is accountability to our clients, and it's earning trust. And then most importantly, you need to do what you said you're going to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the last thing I put on there, and sometimes people think I don't know if they think it comes across as overly confident, but I put down there at the end of the period, I'm going to meet with them and to ask them for a referral and to tell them what a good job I did. And they just kind of laugh when I tell them. I said, count on it. And then when I do ask for the referral, it's pretty simple.
It really is. And remember, when you list a property, there's a honeymoon stage in real estate, and it's in the first couple weeks. They love you. If you're doing the stuff that you said they love you. And one of the things that Joe Stumpf, who his organization coached me for a couple of years, but one of the things that he would recommend that you'd say is, I want to make you so outrageously happy with the service I'm providing you that you'll recommend me to all of your friends, neighbors, family, and business associates. And you put it in their mind that you're going to come back maybe day 30 and ask for that referral. So, thank you for reviewing your listing with me today. By the way, do you remember I mentioned that I wanted to make you outrageously happy with the service I'm providing? How am I doing? And who do you know now that's looking to purchase or sell a home? I'd love to help them. Do you know anybody right now? And if you don't, would you think of me first when you do? That's hugely important. Okay, you guys, we're 55 minutes in, and I think we've covered a lot today. I hope it's been worth an hour of your time to spend it here. Just a note, I think I've sent out just about to everybody a notice that the Thursday newsletter class that I was going to do, I pulled back on that. I'm from Iowa, and I know how to drive on ice and snow. And then Oregon, there was a little bit of that. But I understand here in Texas, I'll be taking my life in my hands by driving 30 minutes into Frisco from my home up north in Anna. So I'm going to stay off the roads because I really don't want to die or crash my car. So I've rescheduled that class that's in the office in Frisco for 2 weeks. I think it's the 17th of February. It's posted on our Facebook page. I'm going to do that class in the office. And I also want to remind you all that tomorrow, Boo is doing a class in our Frisco office for all of you. And I think it's very gracious, very nice of him to do this for you. He doesn't have to. As you all know, he's a pretty busy guy, but he's put together, along with Autumn, a class to be able to help you with social media. And what I know about Boo is most of his business comes from social media, and he's going to let you in the door. He's going to open the door and show you what he does. It's entirely free. It's going to be in the office tomorrow here in Frisco. And I think it's at 10 o'clock, if I'm correct. It's also on our face. Please don't miss that. Please don't miss that meeting. I know that we've been away from actually, hugging people, touching people, being with people. Some of you still may be a little paranoid about that. Whatever. Let's do it. Let's, part of Paul investing in the Grapevine office, the new office in Grapevine, which is super exciting, and this new Frisco office, which opened in December, is to bring us back together. And while this is an excellent medium for us to get together, we can't forget about meeting face-to-face and shaking hands and looking into the eyes of those people that we work with and work together. So I hope you all are able to be here. Scott, I know it's going to be a long drive for you. I don't think you'll make it to Frisco, Texas tomorrow. So you just stay in Bend and be happy. And the rest of you, I hope you're there tomorrow for Boo. And thank you for being here today. I appreciate you guys all taking the time to be here. And we'll talk to you Thursday on Tom Ferry's class at 10 o'clock. That will go on. I might be doing it from home, but I will be doing that class on Thursday and then back here again next Tuesday. So we'll see you then. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Have a good week, everyone.
Bye-bye.